Hey guys, Mallory here in front of our salt marsh or tidal marshes tank here at the aquarium. So this water is brackish water, which is a mix of salt and fresh, and in my hand and also in the tank is one of our residents, the diamondback terrapin, who's a bit of a wiggle worm and wants to get back to swimming with his friend. But when we think about the oceans, we think, oh, those are really big and important and we must save them, which is true. But equally as important are those tidal marshes and the salt marshes that kind of are the backup dancers, I kind of think of it, to the ocean, which takes center stage. So within those marshes, we have all sorts of animal and plant life. These guys live in the salt marsh, and the marshes are an important part of the life cycle of many animals that live in the ocean. So they actually start their life in the marsh. It is an estuary or a nursery. So as a calm, quieter, less turbulent place, that is kind of where a lot of animals that live in the ocean begin their days. Like you have baby dolphins and shrimp and fishes and sharks that kind of start their life in the marsh, and as soon as they're big enough and are able to kind of stand the turbulent ocean waters on their own, then they swim out into the ocean and continue on their life cycle and come back to the marsh or the estuary to lay their eggs and start the cycle all over again. Another importance of the salt marsh is for birds. So as birds migrate north and north, they look for rest stops along the way. And marshes are like gas stations, so there's a place to rest and there's a place to refuel. As I said, marshes are home to all sorts of flora and fauna. So these guys, there's also all sorts of fish, baby fish from that estuary. There's all sorts of snails. So those birds can find plenty of food and they find rest in the trees and the grasses of the marsh. Another cool feature about a marsh is that it acts kind of as a sponge. So when weather comes in off of the ocean, whether that's through the Gulf, in the Gulf of Mexico, or across the Atlantic for the Georgia shoreline, the marsh kind of is an extra buffer behind the barrier islands that helps protect the shore and all of the animals and people that live on the shore. So that's things coming off of the ocean and things coming into the ocean. It is a sponge in that the marsh plants are super adapted and really cool, not only to the ever-changing salinity and water levels, but also to different pollutants that are making their way from land into the ocean. So those plants and animals that live in the marsh are adapted to kind of absorb some of those pollutants and toxins, and so they don't actually ever reach the ocean, which is really cool. Like an oyster. Oysters are found all in the marsh, and they filter lots of water every single day. It's their job. So it's just kind of another thing to think about when you're thinking about water as a whole and the oceans, and as all water is connected, you kind of, when you're driving to the ocean, you probably think, oh, that's just a bunch of mud and grass and it's not really important, but it's doing a very big job of protecting and filtering and being a safe spot for different plants and animals to rest and to grow. Now, a threat to our marsh is excess pollution, excess weather, as well as just general habitat loss. Everyone wants to live at the beach, which is great, but when you get in there and you start destroying the backup and the protection for the coast, and that starts degrading the coast even more. And so you're going in there trying to live somewhere, but then you're kind of destroying what's holding the whole ecosystem together in the process, which then you're not going to have anywhere to live. So we want to make sure we protect our marsh and kind of stop the habitat loss and the destruction of the marsh. Plus then, these guys don't have a place to live, and in my opinion, they're super cute and they need the marsh to live. So thanks for hanging out and learning a little bit about the tidal marsh. I'm going to go let this guy get back to swimming with his buddy.